Alright, so let's learn how to work with the database in Visual Studio ASP.NET MVC. I'm going to go to my Server Explorer, and doesn't really matter if you have a project created or open for this, but I'm going to go to the Server Explorer, and if you don't know where it's at, click on View, Server Explorer, and I'm going to right mouse click on my data connections, and I'm going to choose Create New SQL Server Database. I'm going to paste in my server name, and remember, one way you can find your server name is by running Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. In that first login window, you can just grab it and paste it in. And I'm going to call this database HardKnox, K-N-O-X. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to create my brand new database and give me access to it. And there's no tables in it, so now I'm going to right mouse click on Table and choose Add New Table. And the first thing I'm going to do in my Add New Table is I'm going to change the table name down in the script. So down here where it says the word table, I'm going to type in the name student. And then up in the designer area, I'm going to start typing in the table fields that we're going to create. I paused the recording while I typed in my columns. But the ones that we're going to use are student ID, and it's a primary key, student first name of varchar 30, student last name varchar 30, student enrollment date, a date time, and notice those are all not nulls, so you have to have a value when you work with that. Student GPA, which is a decimal 3,2, meaning you're going to have 3 decimals or 3 digits total with 1 on the left side of the decimal and 2 to the right of the decimal. And we're going to allow nulls because when a student first enrolls, they're going to have no GPA. And then major ID is a varchar 2, and this is going to end up becoming a primary key. But we're going to say that in our system, everybody has to declare a major. Even if it's a general education major, everybody has to declare it. The next thing is I want you to click on the student ID, and we're going to set this field up as an identity field. Now, an identity field means that as you add a brand new record, the system will keep track of the value for the primary key and auto increment it. So you click on that column and then you come over to your properties window, and there's an attribute for that object called identity specification. If you click on the plus sign, it says, is this an identity field? Currently it says false. Double click on it and it says, okay, we're going to handle this field for you, and every time you add a new record, we're going to go ahead and increment the last value by 1, and we're going to start the first value off at 1. That's called the seed. So when you add a record, the first record student ID will be the value of 1. Add another one, 2. Add another one, 3, and so forth. Now that we have the table structure in place, go ahead and click on Update in the left upper corner, and it will generate the script and make sure it looks good. And then after it generates the script, you'll click Update Database. And it's going to run that update of the database, and we get a green arrow saying that everything's good. We can close that window down, and then we'll come over to Tables, right mouse click on it, and do a refresh, and we'll now see that we have our table structure. Now I can go ahead and add data if I wanted to. Right mouse click on Student, and choose Show Table Data. And now you can type in the following data. I'll pause the video to type it in and then be right back. I wanted to go ahead and show you how to enter in at least the last record. The last individual name will be Betty Sue, and the last name will be Jamboree. Now on the date, this is interesting because I could type in the year first, a 4-digit year, dash 03 dash a day, and press tab. That would work. Or I could come back and I could type in 3/2/2016, and that would work. So there's different ways to type in the date. In fact, I could even type in MAR space 2 2016, and all of those understand that it's a date format. And then the major ID, we'll just type in IS. We now have 5 records in our database for student. Let's go ahead and close that database or that table and the design table, and let's go create another new table. And in this case, we'll right mouse click, add a new table. We're going to change the table name to be majors. And we're going to come up to the column and we're going to say this is major ID. Now this will be the primary key for this table, but realize that we did a major ID in the student table. And that's the foreign key over there. So they're going to be able to be linked together later on in MVC when we start writing our SQL statements. So major ID, and that's going to be a varchar 2, and we're making it a varchar 2 because we want it to match the other table, not null, and then we'll have major description, and that'll be a varchar 30, and we'll say it cannot be null. Click on the update button, and then click on update the database, and it looks good. Close, refresh the tables. There's our major table. Let's show the data by right mouse clicking, show table data, and let's add data for that. So I've added 5 records: IS, Information Systems, CS, Computer Science, AC, Accounting, MK, Marketing, FN, Finance. This table is going to be used as a lookup table. In other words, in our website, when we add a student, you'll be able to choose the major. Instead of typing in the major code of IS, end users don't really want to do that. They'd rather use a drop-down list and choose the word Information Systems because it's more descriptive, and it's also a good way to make sure we don't let the end user make mistakes. Now, doing a lookup table like that, for the most part, you'll probably have 2 fields, some type of code and an ID, and then a description that goes with it. Other things you might think of for lookup tables might be a state table with the state code or a state abbreviation and a state name, or a team code and a team name. So anytime you think there's going to be a code or an ID and a name, that's probably going to be a lookup table. And usually that code or that ID, if it's a character string, a varchar, will be uppercase, and then the description will just be a regular camel case. Okay, we're done with that table. We can close it, close the design. We now have our database and our 2 tables set up that we're going to work with. In the next video, we'll create an MVC project, and then we'll start working with the web config and the connection string section, which will allow us to identify what database we want to work with.